Hey guys, Patrick Tatton here. So I decided to just start this video. Man, I said in the last one I was procrastinating, and I started to procrastinate this one too in a different way. Something I wanted to talk about today, it's called perfectionism. And I wrote down on a sticky note and I put it on my computer, I am a recovering perfectionist. You know, we always hear people are recovering alcoholic or recovering drug addict or recovering this or recovering that. People don't talk about the dangers of perfectionism. Now, I'm not talking about not preparing for things. I'm not talking about doing a good job or researching or acquiring the resources and working out if you're an athlete, making the proper preparations responsibly. But there's a way that perfectionism can keep you from starting. It can kill you in the crib. And I had a teacher, an acting coach years ago that actually said perfectionism is an anger response. It's an anger response. If you think about it from your childhood, I know my childhood, it could be a defense mechanism against your peers. You're going to be so good that no one can ever have anything to say against you or your work. A, that's not realistic. B, it is not a way to be compassionate to yourself. And where would we be if all the artists, the prominent artists that leave large volumes of work to posterity, had succumbed to this perfectionism and felt like, well, I'm not really ready, or things aren't, as soon as I get to this point, that never shows up. So I just started thinking about this, and here I am in my workshop. I just wanted to start talking and see what came out. This is the place where I am the most honest with myself. It's where I do all my work. There's scraps of projects and things. These are like the bottoms of some ponds, and I feel the most comfortable in here with myself. I feel the most comfortable working. I don't know why I'm showing you guys these things, but you might find it interesting. These are some tools, some chisels that I made. It's a poplar dowel. Actually, I think this is a pine dowel. Oh, yeah. This is a 2-inch pine dowel from Home Depot, and it just would drive me crazy, these carbide things. This part here would get filled with wood chips, and the screw would strip out. And every time I wanted to do a different cut, I would have to replace this, or like take it out and change it out, and it just got so annoying. So finally, I just drilled a hole that was a little bit too small for the square. I took the bit off so I wouldn't damage it, and I just smashed it in the ground with a hammer like this, then put the cutting bit back on. So now I have one for each. Well, I have three. I have two like this, and then I have my third one. But some of my chisels, I really like this chisel, but it's just so small, see, when I'm cutting. Anyways, a video about perfectionism, and here I am talking about lathe chisels. But I told myself I was just gonna kind of roll with things. So I have all these projects that are like mid-flow here, but I've just spent so much time in life pursuing acting, pursuing writing, pursuing these things, and I'll get in front of a camera and I tell myself, hey, you give me a script, I'm your man, write it all out, practice it, rehearse it. But life doesn't happen like that. Even acting life, that you're gonna get revisions. You're gonna have to think on your feet. And I think when I was younger, I had more confidence in it because you get to LA or New York or whatever, and you may not have the success that you thought you might have, and so confidence is not always where it needs to be. But so I would, especially commercial auditions or things like that, it would be like, hey, I'm Patrick, and I hope I'm not boring, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to talk really fast, which I'm probably doing now. But in life, we all have to collect ourselves and think of our thoughts. And, if you have genuine friends and acquaintances and professional people with whom you're working, they're going to sit and listen and hold space for you to exemplify and articulate what's on your mind to the extent that they're interested, and then you'll both work together and collaborate with the project. So in recent years, I have sort of let certain acquaintances go. I may have called them friends at one time, but I do no longer. And I'm relearning who I am. I'm relearning myself. I'm relearning what it means to have meaningful work, to be gentler with myself. Man, I would get so frustrated if I spent all this time making a piece. This is not a piece, but I would see the end piece. But do I have any pieces in here? Guess I don't. Well, take the horse, for example. Actually, this is a small sample chess horse from one of my smaller sets. And myself today looking at him, like, that's pretty damn good for a chess horse, to make a whole bunch of them. But there was probably something at the time when I did this, if I sit there and scrutinize it, oh, there was a scratch, there was the stain didn't go in the eye, it's kind of not the way I wanted it. So that means the whole thing was ruined. The whole day, the work day was ruined. So in my mind, I had nothing to show for it. But looking at it and my future self, more compassionate to my past self, it's like, no, you did a lot of work. You found meaning and solace, and you learned the cutting techniques for the next one as a template. There's a lot of value to be had from doing something, even if it doesn't come out as perfectly as you had it in your mind's eye. How about that? Arnold Schwarzenegger said one time about lifting, he was going for a certain amount of weight, and he said, well, I went for this record 10 times, and 9 times I failed, and on the 10th time I got it. So what does it matter about the other 9 times? The other 9 times were a preparation, a pressure test to show where you're at, and then you make the adjustments until the 10th. But if you beat yourself up every single time, you're not preparing for success. Anyway, these are all thoughts that are coming to me. And again, I hope that they bring some value to everyone. And let me know what your personal journeys are. Right now, I am doing some different things in life. I'm working on a big chess set. You've seen some videos for that. I'm writing some short scripts, which I'll talk more about. And I'm pursuing an acting career. And I've had some success. I've had some setbacks, as we all have, but it's important to be thankful for where you are along the way. And I think I'm probably going to wrap this up in a bit with this one quotation. I took a motorcycle mechanics class years ago, which I really enjoyed. I had a motorcycle and I really enjoyed working on it, and I really enjoyed learning how to work on it. And the mechanic that ran the class, I think his name was Bill, an older gentleman, and he said, so we all have a certain amount of money and time, right? So you have a motorcycle and you love it and you enjoy it, and something goes wrong with it, or something that needs to be maintained or fixed or looked at. So you can pay someone and they'll do it, and it's over, and you get the time back, but you lose the money and you miss the experience. However, if you take that same money, you could go buy tools, and you could take those tools, learn the experience, fix the machine or repair it or maintain it, and you get to keep the experience and the tools. So in some ways you get to keep the money and everything. So as an actor, as a craftsman of any sort, as an artist, you get to keep the experience. Every experience is adding. There's nothing that's lost. There's no, as Pitbull says, there's no losing, only learning. I love that quote. There's no losing, only learning. There's no failure, really. Now, there have been times where I have shown up to something and maybe my nerves got the better of me. But that's still not a loss. It's still a way to show up and say, okay, well, that was an accurate pressure test. What do I have to do now to make sure that the next opportunity I seize it to the best of my ability? So now I do push-ups before my auditions, and I replicate the fight or flight response. You can't really make yourself nervous in your own living room, but you can simulate what it's like to have a breath that you can't quite catch. So then you're talking to the camera and you're hoping they can't see because it looks like your heart is pumping out of your chest. But really, when you watch it back, what you feel and what they see are rarely in congruence with each other, congruent to each other. So that's acting. For a challenge in woodworking, you know, sometimes I'll get overheated, I'll get too focused, I'm looking at something and it's like, man, this is just not working. I'm like working with so much frustration. And then later, I've just learned I have to leave it. I want it to be done right now at this moment, but I just have to leave it. And I'll look back at it hours or days later. I'm like, man, that's damn good. I'm glad I didn't keep cutting. Or, oh, it's just the side needs to be, that's an easy thing to fix. In my mind's eye, the momentum of my thoughts and my work and my trajectory is just taking me down this path. And I think we're all guilty of that. And that's why when actors, for example, give their acceptance speeches for an award, they have so many people to thank, because no one does it on their own. None of us does it on our own. I don't care how great an artist that you are. The ancient, you know, the artists from the Renaissance, all of them had a patron to help them at some point. If they didn't have a patron, usually they were, like even Leonardo da Vinci was a mechanic of sorts, an engineer. I remember reading a letter of his or listening to him appeal to a wealthy patron, and I think I'm butchering this, but he said, well, I am skilled at engineering, at mathematics, at this, at that. At the end, I think he said, oh, and I do a little painting. Now, he was actually renowned for his physical abilities and making war engines and siege engines, all these other types of things. And then, you know, eventually, after all the pragmatism, he was able to pursue his art. So now, and the rest is history. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm Patrick Tatton. I hope somebody somewhere has found some value of this. I'm going to keep posting them, and you're going to keep hearing them. So let me know your thoughts.